Up with y'all YouTube, it is Yellowbone, the neighborhood customizer, aka the Yellowbone in Yellowstone. Today I'm going to show y'all how I embroider on lanyards. I do them 3 at a time on a standard hoop. Just rolling on this Ricoma EM1010 machine. This is my first official YouTube video, so y'all bear with me, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of a clown, so I hope I don't offend nobody along the way. Let me turn this machine off so y'all can hear me and we'll get this thing rolling. Let's get it popping, baby. All right, y'all. So first things first, I'm going to show y'all how to hoop your lanyards 3 at a time. So I've got my 3 lanyards right here. I got me some masking tape and also some packing tape because it's nice and strong. And I've got all my backing. I use tearaway, just 1 sheet of tearaway for each one. Go ahead and put that right there. I got my hoop right here. I'm running with a 7.4 by 5.5 hoop. You can probably use any size you want that will fit three lanyards, and you can probably do more than 3 lanyards at a time, but this is how I'm rocking with it. This is how I felt most comfortable doing it. So first things first right here, I'm gonna get me some tape. I don't want to stretch it, but I do want it flat. So whenever you do it, just run your hand across like that and flatten it to the table and then tape it. You don't want this stretched out. You do want it flat. My lanyards, I'm gonna go ahead and lose my clips. I guess if you don't have the clips on there, you don't have to lose them, but I don't want the extra weight on my hoop. And then you're gonna find the front side. Back side obviously has the extra material on it, so find the front side. And I'm gonna lay this down generally in the middle. And you're gonna wanna do a little crossover like this so that you can get these straight and run them straight like this. That's how you want it laying on your paper. And then it makes a V at the end. That's how you know you've got it nice and even, so that it's even whenever it's on the person's neck. So I'm gonna get some more tape. 1 for this side, 1 for this side. Now I'm gonna go ahead, and you want whatever side you're gonna be putting into the machine, whichever side you're gonna try to push the closest, you're gonna want your clip on that side because you're gonna wanna be far down on this lanyard so that it's not all the way up on their neck and around their neck. You want it down where people can read it when they're wearing it. So I get this generally in the middle right here. That's about splitting that in half. Doesn't really matter if it's perfect because you're gonna line it up whenever you hoop it. I'm gonna tape this side down, make sure my pieces are together, and I'm gonna tape it to the backing. Now I'm gonna run this, same thing. You're not pulling, you're just flattening that material. Get it nice and smooth. No gaps in between the middle. Now I'm going to take this side down. There we go. That's good. And I'm going to go off this. I did it in the middle so that I can have everything straight with that middle one. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Find the front. Kind of split it just like that. And run down, and then I'm gonna put it up and tape it here. And you want to line up, you want all of your lanyards to be generally the same. So you're gonna want to line up right here where it's threaded together, your lanyard. Just use those to get a nice good lineup going. And then I'm gonna run this straight with the other one. I'll get that back side good after, just make sure this piece is straight. Oh, I didn't get my tape. A couple pieces of tape. If you get those off earlier, stick them to your surface. You'll have them ready for you when it's time to stick it down. Makes it easier. Then you can keep your hand right here, keep it stable. And I'm going to go ahead and put it down right there. All right. Smooth it across, running along the edge of this middle one. That's going to keep everything straight. Make sure your middles are straight. Your lanyards on your backing, and usually I'm gonna have my machine running while I'm getting this next one set up. I've only got 2 hoops of this size, so while I'm running the machine, I'm go ahead and get this one set up. It only takes about a third of the time that machine is gonna be running the other names. So there's plenty of time to get this done in between and have it ready by the time your machine stops. I'm just pulling this tape up gently and folding it underneath so that it's not going to stick to anything anymore. Alright. Alright, now I've got this off, movable. I'm going to take my hoop bottom, put it under here. Now, like I said, you want your design to be far down on your lanyard so that it's not riding the neck of whoever's going to be wearing this lanyard. So I'm gonna come up as far as I can on that. I'm just gonna turn it this way because it's a little bit easier to find my center. So on my hoop, I've got these arrows. These are your center lines. You've got them all the way around. You got 4 of them. So this is how I'm gonna center the middle line. I'm gonna line up that arrow on each side with that middle line of the middle lanyard. Getting it nice and far this way. Right at about the edge of where the middles meet is where I'm going to want to get that center. Line that up. And you can kind of jimmy this around. Oh, you know what I didn't do? That's why it's so hard right now. I didn't loosen my hoop up. You gotta loosen your hoop and then you tighten it down whenever you're gonna run your next run. So let's try that again. Loosen it up. Out my way. Now let's try that again. So I'm kind of moving the paper and feeling where it's at because you can't see the bottom hoop, right? Alright, got that arrow set. And I'm setting 1 arrow at a time. It was still a little tight, but hey, that worked out perfect though. It was still a little tight, and I could have loosened it up more and made that easier. I think I got lucky, but you don't like getting lucky, you know what I'm saying? See, there you go. I can't help myself sometimes. I'm gonna act a fool every once in a while, but check it out. So that arrow is lined up with the center line. That arrow is lined up with the center line. So I've got this nice and centered. Now, looks a little bit flimsy, right? Whenever I grab these pieces and the top piece and I pull it, that's gonna tighten up. Tighten up nice and good for me. Ooh. There we go. And I actually put this on backwards. I put my top hoop on backwards, so I'm gonna have to start it over anyway, because this piece is what locks into my machine, and if I'm pushing it in this way, because I want these pieces on my right side, because that's how I digitize my file, it's not gonna lock in with this notch right here. That notch isn't gonna lock in like this notch will. I need it like this to push it into the machine, and then I'm backwards because my hooks are supposed to be on the right side. So let me rehoop this real quick. lined up. So what I'm going to do is, before I lock it in with my screwdriver, I'm actually going to tighten this up. So I got this screw right here. I'm actually going to tighten this up before I lock it in. And by doing that, when I lock it in, it's going to be even tighter of a hoop. Now I'm going to, see how that's harder to pull that in and lock it? That's going to get that nice and tight for me. There it is. There we go. Now we playing with hot coals. I would like that other arrow to be a little bit more centered. What I'm going to do is loosen this up a little bit. Pop it down from being locked in. I'm going to center that up a little bit more. Pull this side up. In there. That's better. I'm more comfortable with that. Always make sure that you are straight and aligned, okay? A couple extra minutes right here is going to save you your garments over there on the machine. So always make sure that everything is perfect how you want it. Not going to forget this step this time. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down before I lock it in. And you want to get this nice and tight. Don't strip your screw. You see I'm kind of holding it there because this thing will slip out. This is the screwdriver that came with the machine. Racoma EM1010 is the machine that I'm working on one more time. Now I'm going to go ahead and lock it in. Let me take some finger strength to get that locked in. That's a lot better. So now look, there's a lot better lineup. I didn't really show you the last one, but I was kind of off-centered with one arrow off to the right, and all of my lanyards would have been slanted. I wouldn't have been happy with that, and I would have had to throw those away. Now I've got this locked in. This is when I'm going to go ahead and get my masking tape. And I've actually got two pieces from the last run. They're perfectly fine still. I'm going to put them at the very edge. First, I'm going to make sure everything's pushed together. Like I said, you don't want them gapped, because whenever you digitize, you're digitizing like there's no lines in between, like this is all one piece. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. That one tried to push away, push it back together. Now this side is nice and stable. Keep them all together. Smooth it out on top so that it's sticking good. And then do the same thing to the other side. Just kind of manipulate them to be nice and snug together. You don't got to push or pull too hard. And then all the way at this edge, I want this tape out the way. I want it there, but I don't want it getting stitched. It's not like it'll kill you, but it will be annoying trying to get it out. Save you some cleanup keeping this all on the side. So there we go. This is hooped and this is ready to stitch out. All right. One piece of tearaway backing is all I'm using. And it is going to be sufficient for getting these stitched out. All right, y'all. So here we are. This is the digitizing portion of doing your lanyards 3 at a time on a standard hoop Racoma EM1010 machine. And first thing you're going to want to do is get your measurements. So I've got my lanyards hooped, and then I want to get my measurements on there. And I actually went ahead and used the ruler. Get that little dangly out the way. And I taped it down on there. I started at that 1-inch line so that I've got exact measurements. If you start at that little metal rung, it's going to be off like an 1/8 inch or so. Learned that the hard way a long time ago doing woodwork. But, and yes, in woodwork, an 1/8 inch makes a difference, a big difference. So you've got your ruler down so that you can get your measurements. I got me this pretty little notebook deal that my wife's probably gonna bust me upside my head for ripping a page out of or using a page out of, but you know, life's all about risk, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do is first here, I'll move my computer and I'm gonna go ahead and record my measurements on this here. So let's zoom in a little bit. All right. So I'm going to start at the bottom and I want to go ahead and get the markings for each line. Where each line is, I'm going to get that marking all the way to the top. So starting from the bottom to here, it's not 3/4 and it's not 7/8, and I want exact. That's why I'm doing this instead of going off of what Amazon said the sizes were. So I'm gonna do 7/8. Oh wait, recorded that wrong. 3/4 / 7/8 mid. That's my first line, my bottom line. All right. Then I'm gonna get my second line right here. Look, that one is exactly 1 5/8. And you go these little, the smallest lines are an 1/8 inch. Your second one is a 1/4 inch, and of course this is a 1/2 inch. So I know it's a 1 5/8 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/8 inch is 1 5/8. So I'm at 1 5/8 on my second line, exactly. 1 5/8. My third line right here. My third line is actually my center line. And my center line is 1, 2, 2 3/8. It's 2 3/8. Go to my fourth line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, fourth line is right here. 1, 2, 3 inches and just under 1/4. So I'm gonna do 2 and no, that's 3. 3 1/8. 3 1/4 mid. That's just telling me it's in between 3 1/8 and 3 1/4 inch. And I'm gonna move up to my last line, which is right there at the 5. I took away that 1. That's why I've been counting up to be safe. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's right at 4 inches. Here's my fifth line. 4 inches. And then my top is mid between 4 3/4 and 4 7/8, which is where I started, right? Because I was at 3/4 and 7/8 mid on the first line. Now I'm at 6th line, 4 3/4 inch by 4 7/8 inch mid. And again, I ordered these off of Amazon. Amazon says they're 3/4 inch thick. Obviously, they're just a smidge bigger than that. You can ignore that and not be exact. I'm a little bit OCD, so I like to be exact with my measurements. So I went ahead and did this. And I did it off the Amazon measurements the first time, and I was crooked. I did it all off of their measurements. I just made 3/4 inch boxes while I was digitizing, and it didn't work. But check me out. Here are my measurements. So I know exactly where my lines need to be, right? So these are my split lines in between each one. So I'm gonna write that. Split lines between each piece of the lanyard. Each piece of the lanyard, I've got the split lines. Now, I want to find my middle, center lanyard. So this is going to be the center for each piece of the lanyard. I want to find the center. So I'm going to come here, and this center is going to be between 3/8 inch and 1/2 inch. 3/8 inch and 1/2 inch mid. So my first center, or my bottom center, we're going to go the same way we did with the split line. So first center is 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch mid. Second center is, where we at the center, I'm gonna say it is 1 1/4. I say 1 1/4. 1 1/4 inch. My third center right here is gonna be 2 1 1/8 mid. So 2 inch and 1 1/8 inch mid. My fourth center, 1 2 3 4. I've got 2. Let's see, 2 1/2. It's just about that. So let's say 2 1/2 and 2 5/8 mid. 2 1/2 inch, 2 5/8 inch mid. My fifth up here, 1 2 3 4 5. That one looks like it's exactly 3 5/8. My fifth center is 3 5/8 inch. And my sixth. My last center is going to be in between 4 1/2 and 4 3/8. So 4 3/8, 4 3/8, and 4 1/2 mid. And look, you got that same pattern. This should happen whenever you're measuring things that are the same size. 3 1/8 and 1/2, and then it's exactly 4 inches away. It's 4 3/8 and 4 1/2 mid. So I know I'm on track there. That's kind of confusing. You know, measuring and math and stuff can be really confusing. Let's zoom back out. Take this down. Let's put the laptop back up. So I've got all of my measurements. So now I'm ready to digitize. But whenever I'm digitizing, I want to mark down these measurements that I just made. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull up my grid, which you go up here to where your file is and go to view and pull up your grid. So this grid shows me inches. So each line like that is 1 inch. We got 1 1/4. No, each two is 1 inch. So we got 4 to 3. So that's 1/2 inch right here. So this is the same as your ruler. It's going to show all the way to 1/8 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at 0. And I'm actually going to go ahead. I'm going to make a tiny little box. Just leave it as a draw line. I'm going to make a tiny little box, and I'm going to use that as my centerpieces. I can duplicate that as I go, and then I'm going to make a line, use my pen, and I'm going to make a line. Start at your 1 inch. Drag it all the way about 6 inches or so. Now I've got a line marked down. You can see it skewed away. So what I'm gonna do is go over here and I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna move that point up to there. Now it's straight. All right, so this is my bottom. This is the bottom of the first lanyard, and then this is going to be my center of the first lanyard. So I got my bottom of the first lanyard and my center of the first lanyard. My bottom is going to start at the bottom, and then my center is going to go up what? The first center is 3/8 and 1/2 inch mid. So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3. This is 3 and this is 1/2 inch and mid. So I'm gonna put that right in the middle, right there. And then I'm gonna grab my line, and these are your split lines, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'll put it up here, and I'm gonna grab it. And where is my first split line at? So I've got the bottom. This is just the bottom where I'm starting, but I counted up the first split line, and it's 3/4 to 7/8 inch mid. So I've got 1/2 inch right here, 3/4 right here. I'm gonna put it right in between 3/4 and 7/8, right? So this thick line is my 1/2. This is a full inch. So I'm at a 1/2. I'm at 5/8. I'm at 3/4. So I want in between 3/4, and then I'm at 7/8. So in between 3/4 and 7/8. So now that is my first lanyard strip, and I am centered in between it. I know where my center is on it, and I know where it actually shows. So then I'm going to continue that pattern. All right. So I'm going to go, the next thing I need is my second center. I'm going to duplicate that, put it up here. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. And I'm going to look at what my second center is. Second center is right at 1 1/4 inch. So I'm 1 inch, 1 1/8, 1 1/4. So I'm going to put that right over 1 1/4. And I'm going to take my split line. I'm going to duplicate that, put it right there. Then I'm going to move that to where it needs to be. My second split line is going to be 1 5/8. So this is started at the bottom. I go up 1 inch. There's 1 1/2. This is going to go right at 1 5/8. Right there. So now I've got it over 1 5/8. Now I've got, that is one full lanyard right here. I've got one strip and a second strip. And I now know what the edges are of that lanyard and the center of that lanyard strip. Edges are of the next one and the center of that one, right? So I'm just mapping out a map right now in order to get my design right. And once I've done this once, I will never have to do it again. All I'll have to do is go plug in my names for future orders. If I use the same lanyards, I don't have to do this again. If I use different lanyards, I will have to do it again. Just know that you can either charge your customer, or it's really not that hard. Once you've done it a couple times, it won't take too much time. So now I need another center. I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate that. Put it right there. This is my third center, right? 1, 2, and that's 3. So my third center is at 2 inch. Oops. My third center is at 2 inch and 1 1/8 mid. So it's in between 2 inch and 1 1/8. So I start down here. 1, 2, 2. Oh, wait. 1, and then 2. So this is my 2 inch line. 2 1/8. So I'm going to put it right over that 2 1/8 inch line. Then I'm going to grab that one again, duplicate it, put it up here. and then I'm gonna move it. I'm at my first split line, second split line. This is my third split line. My third split line needs to be at 2 3/8 inch. So we know that I was at 2 inch right here, because this is just 2 1/8. Well, I didn't put that middle. That needs to be 2 inch and 2 1/8 inch mid. So I'll move that to the middle in between 2 inch and 2 1/8 inch. And then this split line needs to be 2 3/8, which would be right here, because I've got 1 inch, 2 inch, 1 2 3/8. So it goes right on that line right there. Now that is the next strip right there. I've got that next strip and I've got my center for it. This sounds confusing, but it's really not that bad once you get rolling with it. Excuse me for that burp right there. Excuse me for Frederick Douglass sitting back there staring a goddamn hole in your soul too. Imagine how Abraham Lincoln felt whenever he was staring a hole up into his soul. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and stop doing this process, and I'm going to show y'all the next step, because I've already done all this. All right, so now that I've got my grid set up, I am going to use it in order to line up my names, right? So I will actually pull up what I've already got. And the way I did this, you see that the names are flipped. That's because of how they are on the lanyard itself, right? So it's running down and it's running up. So that's why I want my clips like this, my clips on this side whenever I'm hooping, so that it matches exactly what is on my screen. So I go ahead, and what I would do, I'll flip this back to regular, because this is how you would type it in, right? So let's say I didn't have any of these in here. Let's say those aren't in there. Whenever I'm going to line them up, I'm going to start at the top and move down. That way I know that I'm getting them right. But check this out. You just want to make sure that you've got even space in between those grid lines. A little high. This is how I'm centering. I only drew those in order to have a grid to go off of. So that right there, you see that amount of space at the top, space at the bottom is the same. This is centered. I'm not worried about left to right, and you'll see why here. I will move all this out of here. I made sure that all my letters were the same height. The length that they went just was determined by the height that I made them. I made them all 0.55 inches tall, just so y'all know. So then I pull my Rohawks in here. I want to get that centered from top to bottom. There you go. I've got the same amount of space there as I've got right here. And then what I do is, because this is going to travel down my lanyard, and then the Coach Atkinson is traveling up my lanyard, so that it is read correctly, I am going to flip it upside down and flip it the side to side. So now I've got these in the correct orientation. Coach Ray will go in there. Let's center that. Same amount of space from the bottom and the top. Coach Ray is stubborn. Zoom in a little bit, make it a little easier. There we go. Coach Ray. He needs a Rohawks underneath him. There we go. Same distance here, same distance there. Coach Bollier, probably messing that up. Let's get him centered in between the lanyard strip. Same space, nice. And the last row hawks. Ooh, drop that in the perfect spot. Same space. So I've got all of that in the same identical space on my lanyard strips. So then I'm going to select all of these. Selected all of my text, and that's why I wasn't worried about them being centered down the middle, because I'm going to just select them all and then center them down the middle. See how they shifted a little bit? They are now centered and ready to go. Now what I did, because I wanted to go ahead and have all of these on one file and run them back to back to back, I stacked them. You see how I stacked them and just lined them up with the row hawks, because the row hawks are the same. And the way that I did that is I grabbed all of these characters and I duplicated them, put them over here, and then I just went in and retyped the name, and it keeps it, let's say Coach Hustler, it keeps it the same height. It just changes the length on it. So it keeps it the same height, changes the length. I'd go through and change all of them, just the names, because the row hawks stay the same. So I'd go through and change all of them. Coach Lazy. And Coach Winner, let's say. Just making those up. So I went in there, plugged all those in, changed them. I'd grab that whole group. I'd recenter it again. That way all of these are centered. And then I went and changed the color of them, because this is how I'm going to have them change in my system. Went and changed the colors. Zoom back in. Came here, and you can see those. It gives you the grid lines when you're moving them. You see how it's the outline. Now I just put that over, put the row hawks over the row hawks, and that's going to center everything inside of my lanyard strips again. I'm going to not click away from that. I'm going to hit duplicate, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm just going to keep on doing that same process for all of the names. I'm going to take those away because I've already done that, and I'm going to show you. I stacked them. Here's my second set of 3, my third set of 3, my fourth set of 3, my fifth set of 3, my sixth set of 3, my seventh set of 3, my eighth set of 3, and finally my ninth set of 3. And I actually changed the last one because I only had 26, and 9 times 3 is 27, so I made somebody I know a cool little lanyard as well. Went ahead and used that last strip. HMS Huskies, Mrs. Agnew. Cool beans. So that's it for the digitizing. Once you've got it like that, you're ready to move to the machine. Alright, so I'm already going to move to my 4th set. So this one here is finished. All my names have gotten stitched out on there. I know this is what y'all really want to see, is it stitch out. Does it work though? Let's see. Let's find out. Let's find out if it works though. So I've got my machine, got my hoop set up. This is the hoop that y'all just watched me hoop. Took the tape measure and stuff off of it. I'm on needle number 8, and that bad boy is already lined up. I'm actually gonna move it up just a little bit, because I pull this down and I like to look how it's lined up on that first lanyard that's going to stitch out on, and make sure that that top and bottom space looks right. And if it is, then I press go. If it looks like it's too low or too high because of human error, it is what it is, then I'm going to just move it just a little bit. This looks like it is good now. I'm ready to stitch out. And as long as that first lanyard is set up in the right spot, then the rest of them are aligned as well, because I aligned them whenever I digitize. So now, press start, and we can let that bad boy roll. I am running at 800 speed. I feel like that's a good speed to run at. I actually run most of my runs at 800. The EM1010 kind of shakes a lot, more than kind of. Whenever I got it at 1,000, I'd rather it just sit still, run smooth. Not saying I don't get needle breaks. That does happen. Well, not needle breaks, but thread breaks. Needle breaks happen as well. Not really on flats, more on hats for me. But just gonna let this run out. I'm gonna pull this